Hello guys, how's it going? My name's The Reaper, and in today's video I'm going to be taking a butcher's at Reigns Her Majesty. Reigns Her Majesty is the sequel to, I think it came out a couple of years ago now, Reigns, the original, just called Reigns. And it's very similar to the original in the sense that it's a very unique title. The closest thing I could kind of compare it to would be a kingdom management simulator, but I'd use that term very loosely as kind of the closest thing I could call it. However, it kind of bears a deeper look to really explain how the mechanics work. So just a little preface before I start going into things. If you are familiar with the original Reigns, if you watched my first video on that about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, or you are familiar with Reigns where you played the original and you're just looking at to see what the sequel's like, I'm going to be going through the video as if you're not familiar with the original. So if you are familiar with the original, stick with it because I do kind of relate to the first game a bit. But initially I'm going to be explaining the mechanics as if you're unfamiliar with either title. The characters are very similar, as you will see. But later on, I will kind of make some comparisons if you have played the original, but I'm going to be going into it as if you have no knowledge whatsoever, just for the people who have no idea what the series is like, just to show them how the mechanics work. So essentially, what happens is you have in the original game, you were playing a king and you were trying to manage your kingdom as best you can. You're now playing a queen. So the kind of scenarios and the characters kind of change based on that. And what happens is you are trying to get your queen, or queens, I should say, more accurately, to live as long and as prosperous as they are able to be during their lifetime and their reign, and make them last generally as long as possible without getting lynched, overthrown, exiled, or other manner of fairly humorous but horrible death. The game has got quite a good sense of humour. You're not meant to take it too seriously. And let's just see what happens on. So it's my next queen. So those are my previous queens that have died. So we're now on Iris, who is our 23rd queen. I'm going to explain this a little bit later on. So we're going to get into our next queen, because our last queen died. So my previous queen was Esme. Esme's frenzied death is forever a dissertation topic. Queen Iris comes to this new land amid a renaissance of optimism and invention. So basically, the way the game works is you are presented with a series of binary choices. So it'll be either yes or no, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. And based on that, it's going to affect your four main kind of areas of management, which are the power and happiness of the church, the kind of power and happiness of the people, the power and kind of effectiveness of the military, and the stability of the economy. So each of your decisions is going to positively or negatively affect the levels. If any of these levels hit zero, so for example your people's happiness hits zero, they're going to overthrow you, or if any of them hit too high, you're also going to get overthrown. So it's not necessarily a task of keeping them all as high as possible, it's a task of keeping them all as balanced as possible without any of them hitting 0 or 100, so to speak. So if the church hits 100% happiness and strength, they're going to go, oh, heaven on earth, and they're going to overthrow you probably for being a heretic, or they're going to burn you they're going to give you a sainthood test and you get burnt for that. So basically it's a quite comical way of managing your kingdom. You've got to keep things balanced and not get anyone too much or too little power. So let's just get started. So sit beside me with this meal. Let us sip from the same bowl, sweet friend. So basically in this example, this was one of the more kind of subtle and surreal ones. I can either go not tonight, and you see those kind of nodules that have appeared above two of the things at the top of the screen. If I go with this decision not tonight, the game tells you a rough idea of what's going to happen. So I've got a small circle above the church and a big circle above the military. So basically tells you there's going to have a small effect on the church and a large effect on the military. So everything starts at a perfectly kind of stable level. The game doesn't tell you whether or not it's going to be a plus or a minus. So you have to kind of work out what the best decision is. All it's going to tell you is going to be a major or minor effect. It's not going to tell you if it's going to be a positive or negative effect. So if I go not tonight, I don't know if it's going to be a positive or negative on the church and the military. And if I go love to, it's going to be a small effect on both of them. In this one, it's quite surreal. On top of that as well, there's going to be a positive and negative decision. You can't just look at it in terms of what's going to happen to both of those, because you've got to look at what the conversation is, who you're talking to, and is there going to be a long-term effect? So sometimes you might want to take a kind of short-term loss to keep yourself alive in the long term, or maybe I might get myself a new ally, or I might get myself something that's going to benefit me later down the line. Or sometimes if you make the wrong decision at the wrong time, you're going to get yourself killed. So in this case, I have had this card before, I will be honest. So I know if I'm going to talk to her, she's going to poison my drink. So I'm going to say, I think it's the same. I'm going to say not tonight. And it's had a small effect on the church and a large negative effect on the military. So I'm going to look to try and boost my military a bit next time. Whoop. What do you mean? I'm no longer on the council? But it's so fun for me. Whose decision was this? So I can go the king's or mine. So I think if I go the king's decision, I think the military's probably going to be happy, but the people might not. Oh, never mind. No, I just got myself killed. So the weakness of the royal family has doomed this land. We should never have taken a foreign queen. What? And because I ran out of military power, the city is sacked, and you marry an invading general in exchange for peace. He will never understand you. Okay, so that was a pretty pathetic attempt at a 3-year reign, but this does allow me to show me the kind of next mechanic quite well. When your queen dies, a death is not a failure state as it is in most games. If your queen dies, as you saw at the start, this was my 23rd queen. You just start a new one. You're going to look, so it's going to be inevitable you're going to lose a queen, even if you do really well. Eventually you will die of old age. Didn't last very long, but had a quite humorous death, and we'll just move on. So, Iris died in her bitterness, her crown forever disputed. Queen Callista takes the throne in hopes of carrying on her family legacy of order. So let's just see what happens here. So, will you pray over the army's daily exercises? When the church and the sword hold hands, peace is certain. So I say yes, the church is probably going to be happy. And if I say no, the church is going to be very unhappy. And I'm going to get a small... I imagine it's probably not going to be a double positive. So imagine if I say this, the church will be slightly happy, but the army may be very annoyed. If I say this, the church will be very annoyed because I won't let the church bless the army. And I'm probably going to get a small bonus to the army. So let's give a small... let's give a small bonus to the church. And in this case, this is an old decision that had a kind of long-term effect. You remove Florius de Croquille from the council just to please a petty lord? Dear wife, you're a laugh. Haha, or I was serious. So some of the decisions are a bit more subtle, they're a bit more surreal. You have to kind of take a chance on some of them. If I say haha, I got a benefit to both there. Don't really know why, but there we are. I joined the royal forces to avoid religious superstitions, my queen. Please ask the church to leave the army alone. And this one's quite obvious. Unity is urgent. Army's not going to be happy. Church will. I understand. Army's going to be quite happy. The church is going to be very unhappy because I want to balance it. That's not too bad. The army is so costly. If you feel safe, why not decrease patrols to save money? No. Or yes, quite another obvious one. If I decrease patrols, military strength is going to weaken. People might be happy. It's going to save me some money. Or I could try and not do that. I'm going to lose some money. People won't be happy, but the army will stay a bit. I'm going to get a bit more money. I know the people aren't happy about losing patrols. I thought maybe that would go that way. But the army's a bit weak now. I need to try and boost that. A guard from the Eastern delegation was so creepy to me just now. Please, lady, end their visit early. Now, let's see how this is going to go. Yes or no. This is quite a tricky one. Let's say... if I end their visit early, the army might suffer as a result. Crown won't be happy. People might be happy. I'm going to say no. See, that's the way it works out quite nicely. So, Morgana, my people forbid the eating of meat except for ritual. I recommend you command this court to keep to such a diet. Yes. Or I'm going to say no, because that's not going to end well for me. They'll resist it, but if you put the injured soldiers to work making textiles, we'll save on imports. If I do that, the army's going to get significantly weakened. I might get a few quid. I'm going to say no to that because I've got quite a lot of money, but I need to boost the army. People are a bit unhappy. In my country, it's common for women of nobility to date, even if they're married already. So what do you say? Now, now this is a good opportunity maybe to show off how the items work. So throughout the game, based on certain decisions, you are going to encounter, or you're going to come across a bunch of items that you can then lose later on. So if I come to a situation, if I read what's going on, instead of making this decision, I can throw an item into the mix. That could have a positive or negative effect, or give me a new option otherwise wouldn't have. So I think instead of doing a positive or negative, or a yes or no, I'm going to maybe throw royal perfume at her. Maybe that might do something. In this case, you don't need a fancy scent to interest me, cute queen. Should we wrestle more often? Let's wrestle. Interesting. What a lovely table you set, sweet friend. Let us drink wine from the same cup. You'll poison me, or sure. Now, considering that's a big effect on everything, that's probably not going to end well, so let's say you'll poison me. How do you know my intentions? Are you magical, like me? Please believe me, our friendship was true. So, as the game is based on cards, all these decisions, occasionally you're going to encounter repeat decisions. As the game goes on, and you kind of get later and later into the year, so I'm currently on 1450, naturally the game is going to, when you get to a certain point, the game is going to throw sort of new cards at you and new situations. So just to make it a bit more kind of unique as you go along, it's not going to be exactly the same set of cards each time. You are going to get a few repeat decisions, But as the game progresses and goes on, you're going to get new sort of decks thrown in, new potential scenarios, you'll meet new characters that you didn't have access to earlier, just to keep it kind of fresh as you go along. So I'm going to say I'm nothing like you. We wanted to eliminate you and marry your niece to the king. Such a bond would have strengthened both our houses. Leave here, or isn't there another way? I'm just going to tell her to piss off. People aren't happy because they seem to like her, but the military's done a bit better. The visitors leave. The king doesn't believe you and chastises you for meddling. Okay. Your Highness, strange tidings. Hooded men with the faces of snakes have been seen in the countryside at night. Are you drunk, or what? Don't quite know what to do here. Let's just say what. There we go, is the general. Our reports have also received reports of creepy figures at night. They stand in circles and build fires along the river. Investigate them. People probably aren't going to be too happy. Military might do quite well, might cost a few quid. Destroy them. Okay, so it's investigate them or destroy them. I think investigate them is probably the safer option, which is better. The people are happy. I didn't just go in there and stamp them out. As you command. Oh, Queen, let us be true friends. Tell me, is there anyone at court whom you love in secret? If you go, I love the king, I think the military and the church would like that. If you say, well, the church and the military probably won't like that, but the people might be slightly happy, so that might be an interesting decision. Earlier on, I had a encounter with a particular character who said anytime I show her the royal perfume, she's going to take that as a signal for wanting to talk about love. So that's kind of an example where I could use the thing there. I'm going to say, well... And that, thankfully, went as what I wanted to. So the church won't get too powerful, the military aren't too powerful, and people were a little bit happier. No, it's not him. Is it your husband's master of the hunt? It's true. Whenever you wish to discuss secret love, show me the royal perfume. That will be our signal. Let's try it now just to see what happens. It's a secret love signal, then. Who is it you had in mind, my queen? Come closer. Is it the strong warrior woman who came down from the northwest? No. Is it the acolyte from the woods cult who danced hand in hand with you in a coronation? Yes. That will be our signal. So you just... Oh, okay, this is a new one. I haven't seen this one before, so it's going to be interesting. Excuse me. The strange figure is heading toward the river. We searched along the river and found the remains of the snake men's dark gathering, but no sign of them. Suspicious. Only dark magic can create the face of a snake upon a man. It must be an ancient forces. Let me be the one to investigate. Yeah, go on then.
Ooh, that's a sting.
A scarlet rash has laid all the city low. The people are asking for a visit from Her Majesty. So, no, the people will be quite unhappy, but I might save a few quid. In this case, I would like to make the nice decision, but for pragmatism, I'm going to make the negative one just to get the people down a bit, because I've had a few times where I've had 100% of people happiness, and I've been absolutely... basically what happened was I was so popular, a mob of people wanted to come see me, and I got absolutely stomped in the ensuing mob. So it gives you quite amusing ways of dying. I want to try and avoid that one this time, because that's quite a common one I've had. I hid and watched the snake men burn swamp moss. It was a sacred moss, one that induces visions. Keep watching. A terrible sobbing came out from the encampment of snake men tonight. It was as they were afraid of something. No. I've watched the snake men for weeks now, and I'm certain they are a sect that formed to cope with fear. More investigation. What is the All-Mother anyway? I don't know. So a few decisions there didn't really affect anything. What I imagine might happen is those are kind of some of the more long-term ones. So I can either sort of, if a storyline's going along with a certain character, I can maybe cut it out, or I can maybe sort of let it sort of trail off and keep going, or maybe it will give certain decisions or access to certain areas that I wouldn't have had access to before. So maybe later on some of those are going to come back, and we'll see what happens. At the moment, 18 years isn't too bad a reign. Everything's fairly balanced. We have the funds to build a new school. It should be a business school to teach the laws of economy. Yes. Suddenly all your advisors enter, clamouring. Let's make a school of science and medicine where we can experiment on the students. I mean with them. That's probably people aren't going to be happy with that. It'd be interesting to see how that pans out, but I'm going to say no to that one. These heathenous ideas bear the stink of treason. It can only be a seminary. So they'll be happy with that. Everyone else probably won't be, and it's going to cost me some money. Mm.
Yeah.
But war's becoming fashionable now. Don't you think a modern kingdom ought to have a university? Yes. Oh, everyone was happy about that. Oh, here we go. She's come back now because I said I wanted to keep investigating. The men in Snake Mask are just sitting, lighting fires outside my people's temple. They call it a speech rally. It's disturbing. I'll remove them. A lot of the country folk still go without work or wages. Shall we provide a stipend or invest in industry? So stipend, people will be happy. Army and thing probably won't. Let's do that. Not too bad, I think. Oh my god. Why is my sect forbidden to sit on the temple steps? I didn't realise the Queen persecuted innocent men's clubs. Let's discuss. Or just a moment. Let's discuss. It seems like everyone wants you to make a more decisive position. The Cardinal asked to raise some of the older vineyards to build a monastery in the hills, so they'll be happy with that. It's probably going to cost me some money because I'm tearing down the vineyards, and the others might not be happy. If I say no, they'll probably be slightly unhappy, might get a few quid, so I'm going to say no. Oh no, they apparently didn't help the economy. Not quite sure, but never mind. I always thought I'd remarry once you got old, but I'm starting to find your wrinkles quite dignified. Charming. The church tried to pay me to spy on my master the king, but I refused. Of course, since then, my pockets have ached, so I could give him some money. Church probably won't be happy. Oh well. Nah, let him roll it. Let's follow this cat. You follow the cat around the palace until she falls asleep in the sunbeam. Okay, that didn't really happen. Some of the decisions are just kind of nonsensical, don't really do anything. We acolytes need silence to do our sacred rites. Will you build me a tower in your palace? So the church won't like that, because I know they don't like her and her non-churchy ways. People will probably be happy, because she's quite popular, but it'll probably cost me a few quid. That's... I could do no, the people will be slightly unhappy. I'm going to play a pragmatic queen this time. Especially in this case, you can either make a... You can do pure pragmatism and kind of be forced into a situation where occasionally you're going to have to make a decision you won't want to make if you kind of put yourselves in the shoes of a ruler and go, no, I wouldn't want to do that, but I kind of have to. Or you can probably just go, no, I'm going to make every single decision this time with this queen the way that I want to, and it's probably going to turn out badly eventually, but I can do the best I can. So each queen you can kind of play differently. In this case, I'm going to mainly ignore what the decisions are based on what the actual text is, and just go mainly to keep myself alive. I want to see if I can live as long as possible. Another queen, I might go, you know what, let's go for the interesting route, see what happens, or let's just do the things that I would have done if I was actually faced with that decision. What a splendid day. Let's all run into the maze and chase one another in the spirit of innocent mischief. Okay. So in this case, I've kind of, this is one of the situations where you kind of go out the main screen, so I'm now in a location, so I'm out of the regular decisions with everyone coming to me, and I'm going to go through the maze. So I can keep going left and right, explore the maze, go right, back. Oh, there you are, my queen. Were you lost? Allow me to escort you back to the palace. No, I'll stay here. I want to keep going. I'll be honest, I have had this particular maze scenario a few times, but I'm going to go through just because it's quite interesting, just to show you off a kind of location you can go to. Go forward, go back. Okay, so I kind of just had a bit of a cut there because I didn't want to bore everyone with about 5 minutes of me trying to find the middle of the maze, but eventually I did find the way. It says, an unfamiliar monument huddles in the heart of the maze. Some text is chiselled into it. Read the text. It says, to weave a clock of shadow for the sun, present the timepiece of ages, and this is where I can use my destiny clock, which, through a series of decisions I made a lot earlier in the game with an earlier queen, and my items have been handed down to my current queen, and I'm going to use the destiny clock. And a pitch black shadow erases the sun itself. An eerie halo hangs in the black sky. Mother? Silence. So now we've kind of made a long-term decision, so we've created a scenario using one of our items, and we're kind of in a different set of situations. Let's go forward. Let's go right. So let's go forward. Follow the voice. Although the sound dies down, you soon stumble out of the maze. The sun is gone, it's the end of the world. I don't know what you did, but I know it was you. So I can say it was just nature, or you're next. You're next. The sun has vanished. Oh, can it be the devil? Has God forgotten me? Has my life been wrong? No, it's okay, just to kind of appease her, because as I said, I don't want to get the church on my thing. My dual masting clock. Nice answer. Your results indicate that your feminist goddess soul is Harry Potter. I don't know what that means, I'm not going to lie. Some of these things are quite surreal. Occasionally this guy pops up and tells you how empowered you are. And say, I'm just going to say, what? Alright. The Forever Queen must find the crown of the All-Mother in the time of the Black Sun. It's the prophecy. How? The church aren't happy? Oh, people are too happy now. That was a mistake. The All-Mother can only be found in the beyond, she cries. The people are wild with fear. The city's on fire and the sinister figures are approaching the palace. You die under mysterious circumstances during the long eclipse. The stain left by your body is not as dark as the sky. So eventually, after 31 years and turning the sky black, my queen died. My child, such power. The sun and moon themselves dance for you. Now, can you show me my crown? I don't know what a crown is. Is it this thing? Yep. Dear child, you will never need to do such things with me, I promise. I don't know what that means. The screen's gone a bit weird. She died, and you occasionally get a message which may make sense in the long term. So that's the Queen. That's Reign to Majesty. So I made it a few years there. I think that was probably long enough for a video, but I'm going to do one more just to see what happens next time. So Juliet, the 25th Queen. And now this time I think the sky is still dark, so that might give me a few more decisions. Chosen for her impeccable manners, Juliet aims to instill confidence in the crown. You gather the items you inherited from the last queen. Your face in the mirror is new. Your face in the mirror is new. Your advisors are waiting. Let them wait. Please, let this be the year I get married to a lord. I've served you well. Please say yes. Yes, why not? Handmaid Alice moves on to the life of a lady, laden with your generous gifts. So this time I'm going to play the way I want to play, regardless of how this affects the decisions. I want to make it interesting, and I don't want the video dragging, so I'm just going to show you what happens in maybe another death scenario. The events of this world are all controlled by the stars, my queen. Do you know about astrology? And I could, if I want, show her, just do tell me, or oh boy, or just show the destiny clock, in this case. Ah! A star clock crafted from blessed metals. If you use this at a sacred astrological site, you may change your destiny. I already knew that, I just did it. I just turned the sky black. You were born under the sign of Aquarius, the sign of concord and alliance. Trust will bring you far. So that's my star sign, apparently. Don't really know what that means. Oh, what do you want? Go away. I may have just killed myself with a church there. I don't think the King of the East... I think the King of the East doesn't like us. What should I do? Love yourself. A scandalous lady of the East is trying to ransom my good name. I beg the crown to pay what she asks. No, I'm not paying that. So good of you to help usher in a new golden age for the church. Now, let's test you for sainthood. Now, normally, this would be a death scenario because I've hit the maximum for the church, so they're going to test me for sainthood, which normally, and has before, ended up in me dying during the test. However, in this case, I remember from a decision I made earlier on, I can't remember if it was earlier this video, or I think it was before I actually started recording, that I found off one of the other characters. They gave me a kind of cryptic clue was the only way to survive the test of sainthood is to present the cardinal with a holy bone, which I'm going to try this chicken bone just because I can. I cannot believe my eyes. Could that be the lost clavicle of Saint Bernardolo? It's a chicken bone. It's obviously not. I must honour your reign by creating a reliquary for it. Yes. And item added to your bag. Saint's bone. The chicken bone has been recognised by the Golden Church as a holy relic. So, by playing the right item at the right time, I did one of my objectives, which is pass the sainthood test by giving him a chicken bone. I dropped the church down slightly so I didn't get killed this time. And I've got a new item. So that was a clue I managed to kind of discern about 5 queens ago before I started recording. I got a cryptic message just through a few decisions. I managed to get a little clue to that. And I managed to save myself later on. So you get some quite funny scenarios where things you might not think will affect the game may affect it later down the line. And it just keeps the game quite amusing. Honestly, I haven't had that situation before. And now I've got a Saint's Bone, which might help me out later down the line. My son in the West became a smuggler, and now he's got fines to pay. My queen, why does he not listen to me? Was he desperate? Oh, the church might kill me again now. Maybe. We never managed to get him a merchant's license, so he had to earn however he could. Let's just say this is boring. Alright, I lost a bit there, never mind. Finally, a pious queen to bring on on the land. You must be proud to be so favoured by the church. Ugh. It's an early thaw. Will you have your farmers plant everything now to take advantage of the long spring? Yeah, why not? That's probably a good idea. The frost is over, and you were wise to plant early. Let us have a merry celebration of the long spring. Yes, let's do that. Be honest with me, you're not an entirely scientific queen. Are you into a little bit of magic? A bit? Gotta go. If I said a bit, the church won't be happy. A lot of people won't be happy. I'm going to give her my red spellbook, which I got earlier, to see what happens. No, that didn't work. Why are you throwing items around for no reason? What are you trying to achieve? So if you play the wrong, you can't just play any item whenever you want. If you play the wrong item, people are going to kind of chastise you. And if you do it so many times, everyone thinks you've just gone mad and it's not going to end too well. So you can't just decide, I'm going to try every item and see what works. You have to think about what you're doing. I'm doing art, or never mind. Let's just say never mind. I'm into a little bit of magic, a bit. Well, I'm drawing a catalogue of rare plants. Some of them are a little risky. May I order the seeds anyway? I want to see what happens. It's got a big effect on everything. Oh, that didn't end too well. Mistress Kaluga's catalogue is soon completed and released to great acclaim. Until one of the magic seeds sprouts and rampaging vines strangle everything in the palace, including you. So that was a unique death. That was kind of a unique scenario based on that decision I made. But I think that kind of wraps it up nicely. That shows you another death. A more unique one, not just from getting a full or empty on any of the 4 things at the top. I've showed off some of the decisions. You see how the game works, all the mechanics. I think that's quite a good little wrap up there. So one thing I will say at the end of the video, as I said at the start, for those of you who have played the original, apart from the item usage here, which is a nice little new feature, don't expect any massive change from the original. You've probably kind of garnered that information by now already. It's very much the same sort of thing as the original. If you like the original, I think you'll probably like this. I do prefer Reign to Majesty. I think I found the Queens, the decisions you get, I feel a bit more unique. I don't feel as if I've got as many repeat kind of cards in the original. It feels a bit more unique each time. It's a bit more interesting. It's a bit funnier. But if you like the original, I can't see why you wouldn't like this. If you haven't played the original, by all means, pick that up as well. I would recommend you pick this one up. They're both very cheap on Steam. Even without a sale, they're about £2 each. You can play the original, play this one, and I think if you've got any more questions, please leave them below in the comments. Other than that, I think that is a decent wrap up of the video. Reigns, the Steam links are down below in the down below in the video description. Thank you very much. Please like or subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I'll see you next time.